The honorable distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start the event very soon. Please kindly be seated. Before we officially begin today's event, we kindly ask for your attention to a brief safety induction video. This is to ensure your safety and well-being throughout the program. Please take a moment to watch this following video.
Welcome to the Grand Ballroom of the Trans Resort Bali. The Grand Ballroom has 3 entrances and exits. Toilet direction. Prayer room direction. Smoking area direction. Hospital. For your kind attention, there will be no drill for today. The Grand Ballroom is equipped with safety equipment such as fire extinguisher, fire hose hydrant, smoke detector, fire sprinkler, and live public announcement system. The Trans Resort Bali is structurally sound to withstand based on our consultant structural engineer to 8.5 Richter scale. Please stay away from chandelier that can fall on you by moving to the side of the ballroom. Drop down in the floor or hold on to the wall, and if possible, take cover under a desk or table. Stay indoors until the shaking stops and you are sure if it is safe to exit. If there is a case of an emergency, you are requested to evacuate this building. Please remain calm and walk to the nearest door from your current position. After passing the door, turn right and go straight towards the escalator. Use the left escalator and keep walking towards the lobby area. Left and go straight until you find our drop-off lobby area. Our assembly point is located next to the temple in front of the lobby area.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Welcome to Trans Resort Hotel Bali for the opening ceremony of the FILKOM Conference 2025, which is consisted of the 10th International Conference on Sustainable Information Engineering and Technology and Seminar Nasional Teknologi dan Rekayasa Informasi 2025. We would like to convey our very warm welcome to the Dean of Faculty of Computer Science, Dr. Triastoto Kurniawan, our excellent keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Hamido Fujita from University Technology Malaysia, Professor Hideyuki Sawada from Waseda University, Japan, and Associate Professor Dr. Serkan Girkin from University of Twente, Netherlands, the General Chair of SIET SENTRIN Conference 2025, Dr. Muhammad Ali Fauzi, and all distinguished participants. It is truly an honor to welcome to you all today. I'm Ristika Kurniawanestyorini, the MC for the conference. And we are gathered here not only to share knowledge, but also to build connection, inspire innovation, and create meaningful collaboration in line with the theme for SIET 2025, the future of digital innovation, secure, smart, and connected. These conferences will feature presentation by international speakers with cutting-edge session topic. Can we have a round of applause for this prestigious event? Thank you. The honorable distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we would like to invite the General Chair of SIET SENTRIN Conference 2025 to the podium to deliver a welcome speech. Please welcome Dr. Muhammad Ali Fauzi.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for attending our conference. So distinguished keynote speakers, the Dean and Vice Dean of Faculty of Computer Science, Universitas Brawijaya, fellow researcher, SIET and SENTRIN participants, colleagues, and friends. So on behalf of the organizing committee of SIET 2025 and SENTRIN 2025, it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the this conference, SIET 2025 and SENTRIN 2025. Yeah. So we are deeply honored to have you here in Bali, and we know Bali is very beautiful. We have beautiful beaches, yeah, beautiful temples, waterfall, and a lot of tourist attraction, and it is one of the most, maybe the most popular destination in Indonesia. Yeah, and we could say that it has been peer-reviewed by millions of people, and they are happy. Yeah, they are happy with Bali. So it has been passed the peer review. I think it is one of the hardest peer review. Yeah, so. But maybe, yeah, I don't know, but visitor number 2, yeah, maybe not good enough, the review, yeah. Okay, and because of that, yeah, I think hosting a conference in Bali comes also with a small challenge, because maybe right now you are thinking about going to some beach, yeah, or visiting some temples or waterfall or mountains, yeah. But we will have a lot of interesting presentation to get your attention, so don't worry. Yeah. Okay, and allow me to express our appreciation to the keynote speakers. First, Prof. Hamido Fujita from University Technology Malaysia, and Prof. Hideyuki Sawada from Waseda University Japan, and Associate Professor Serkan Girkin from University of Twente, Netherlands. Yeah. And this year, we are proud that we received 95 paper submission for SIET and from 11 countries. And after the peer review process, we accepted 55 papers. And for SENTRIN, we have 46 submission, and we accepted 27 high quality papers. Yeah. So We hope this conference will serve as a platform for lasting collaboration and also inspire innovation that could continue to drive the future of technology. So let us embark this journey together, exploring new frontiers in smart system, building meaningful connection, and perhaps proving that what happens in Bali doesn't just stay in Bali, so it will turn into a great research paper. Yeah, so thank you everyone. Yeah, it's our honor to have all of you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, for the warm welcome speech. Ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony of the FILKOM Conference 2025 is commenced by opening address by the Dean of Faculty of Computer Science Universitas Brawijaya. Please kindly be invited to the podium, Dr. Triastoto Kurniawan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished keynote speakers, Professor Hamido Fujita from University Technology Malaysia, Professor Hideyuki Sawada from Waseda University Japan, and Associate Professor Serkan Girgin from University of Twente, Netherlands. The Honorable Vice Deans, Head of Department, committee members, faculty members of the Faculty of Computer Science, Universitas Brawijaya, Indonesia, respected guests, colleagues, and participants. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita sekalian. On behalf of the Faculty of Computer Science, Universitas Brawijaya, FILKOM UB, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the 10th International Conference on Sustainable Information Engineering and Technology, SIET 2025, and Seminar Nasional Teknologi dan Rekayasa Informasi ke-10, SENTRIN 2025, here in Bali on October 21st to 22nd, 2025. We are honored to gather academics, researchers, innovators, graduate students, as well as policymakers around the world. SIET and SENTRIN have always been more than famous to presenting your papers. They are dynamic platform to collaboration, networking, and sharing ideas on how digital innovations can shape secure, smart, and connected futures across diverse sectors such as education, healthcare, governments, and business. This year's term, the future of digital innovation, secure, smart, and connected, underlines our collective commitment to enforcing responsibility and inclusive technologies that empower industries, strengthen communities, and enhance the quality of life in an increasingly interconnected world. We are delighted to welcome participants from around the world and to host this event in Bali, an island that beautifully embodies balance and harmony, where timeless tradition meets digital innovation. We are also pleased to announce that selected papers will be published by Springer Nature, providing our contributions with well-deserved international recognition. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to the organizing committee, scientific reviewers, keynote speakers, and staff for their hard work and excellent dedication. Without your efforts, SIET 2025 and SENTRIN 2025 would not be possible. Especially for the organizing committee, I know some issues were complex to address, and you are all already successfully taking them care. Let us give warm applause for them. Luar biasa Pak Ali, Pak Sigit, dengan tim. I'm truly proud of you all. Yeah. These scientific events will be both stimulating and inspiring, encouraging new collaboration and meaningful connection among us. I also invite you to experience the rich culture and warm hospitality that Bali has to offer. I am also delighted to announce that this event coincides with the 14th anniversary of Faculty of Computer Science this month. We will have ceremony on 27 October in our campus. That is the celebrating for the 14 years, the Faculty of Computer Science. Once again, welcome to SIET 2025 and SENTRIN 2025. Thank you. With the words, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, SIET 2025 and SENTRIN 2025 are officially open. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the opening address. Excuse me, Dr. Triastoto, kindly ask you to stay on the stage. We will take this opportunity for the group photo session. So kindly ask you to join Dr. Triastoto, to the keynote speakers, and also the faculty leaders from department until the study program. Please join on stage. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. For UV pose, like this. Yeah, that's a rocket pose. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now kindly ask you to join with the audience. We will take a picture from the stage. So let's move here. And to everyone, please stand up. We will take a big photo session with a group session. Please arrange yourself neatly. Okay, let's smile on count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, with the UV pose like this. Yeah, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Give applause to all of us. Kindly ask you back to your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, we are excited to begin today's conference with a lineup of distinguished keynote speakers and insightful discussion. We will hear about the latest updates on information engineering and technology from 3 speakers from 3 different countries. And afterward, their section will include a Q&A session on their each topic. It is an honor of us to have our first keynote speaker from University Technology Malaysia, Professor Dr. Hamido Fujita. Now I will hand over this session to the moderator, Dr. Edita Rosana Widasari from Universitas Brawijaya. Please welcome and give a round of applause.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, good morning everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you in this morning. My name is Rosa. I'm a lecturer at the Faculty of Computer Science, Universitas Brawijaya, and I will be moderating this session. Our distinguished keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Hamido Fujita, who is here with us. Please give him a warm welcome. Okay, before we begin, please let me to briefly introduce him. Professor Dr. Hamido Fujita is a professor at Malaysia Japan International Institute of Technology, University Technology Malaysia, and head of the ICAUSA Software Engineering and Industrial Revolution in Kuala Lumpur. He also served a distinguished professor at Iwate Prefectural University, Japan, and research professor at the University of Radek Kralov-Kiats Republics, University of Granada, Spain, and HUTES University in Vietnam. Professor Fujita is highly cited researcher by Clarivate Analytics from 2019 to 2024 in computer science and across field categories. He is the executive chairman of ISOMET Japan and currently in the editor-in-chief of Applied Intelligence of Springer and Healthcare Management of Taylor and Francis, and as well as the emeritus editor of Knowledge-Based System Elsevier. Wow, what a very inspiring journey academic, Prof. So it is a honor to have you here with us. And now, we are honored to have him share his insight on the topic about views on artificial intelligence and machine learning perspective. So this session we will given around 45 minutes. I'm so sorry. So it is, and including the question and answer session. Okay, so without further ado, please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Fujita. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for a lovely introduction. It's my pleasure and my honor, in fact, to come here. This is the first time for me to come to Bali. And I was fortunate last month, 2 months ago, somebody come to UTM in Kuala Lumpur, which is Malaysia Japan International Institute of Technology. And we talk about vision on quality of conferences. And then the idea come to this conference, and suddenly I think Fauzi been received the message, and then I accept to be a keynote speaker in this conference. It was very nice privilege to see Indonesia, in fact, and I have a lot of observation on this because I don't know many conferences, in fact, in Indonesia, and it was my interest and challenge to come here discussing with you a lot of issues in artificial intelligence, especially from the side of sustainability. So this is my first slides. You can see I have been working a lot in many universities. I'm highly cited researcher for almost 15 years. Clarivate, this year is still not announced. It will be announced in October. And I'm proud that I do influential work, supervising a lot of students, not only in Europe, but also in China, and many projects I have with Horizon 2020 with the European projects. Mainly, I do a lot of work on healthcare, sustainability in healthcare, and this is to do early protection. So the topic today, well, 45 minutes, but very short, because I organized to give you highlight a lot of things in AI, and that's things making a lot of problem in sustainability. Sustainability become a topics, come from economics, from other fields, and in AI, because of machine learning models, we try to sustain the prediction, though the things is changing. So I'll try my best on challenging machine learning and data analytics for better employment of the topics, for better employment for machine learning models. By the way, I am Japanese. My father is Japanese. I born in Japan, but my mother is Italian, and I sometimes represent Japan, but people are always surprised to see my face because my face is not Japanese. Even my colleagues here from Japan, when I met him first, he speak with me in English and still keeping me in English. And it's very interesting to see the universality of face detection as universal templates on people identity. And this is one thing which is I will try to talk about it again. So I start now 45 minutes, right? 45 minutes is very short because I have been giving you a lot of keynotes, in fact, in the world, especially in Europe and in the US. And I came to Malaysia, also a very nice coincidence because University of Technology of Malaysia, I've been working with them almost for 15 years, advisor. So I advise them in Faculty of Computing, especially for doing international conference. And I have a lot of conferences that I organize, which is A conference, B conference. We have classification for conference. Still, I don't know the classification of this conference, in fact, but I hope that by your citation, by the quality of presentation, the proceeding, it can be ranking in good way. So these few slides just show the AI. What is AI? Well, I will stand because you can see my slides, and I can see this slide here because the reflection on the light, I cannot see the screen here when I'm sitting there. So AI, well, as I said, AI provides us some automations. And this automation can help us to predict for security, for economics, for many kinds of applications, even software engineering. We try to use machine learning model, what is called AI, artificial intelligence techniques, not only machine learning models. There are a lot of other techniques for search and scheduling and planning. And we can see that these are important. So I put here because this talk, I give it for a conference in Italy, I just last week on healthcare, sustainable healthcare system. So it was one of the issue, and blah, blah, blah. These are, I don't bother with you because we don't have time. The machine learning model like this, what is artificial intelligence, what is intelligence, the goal of AI is planning and learning like human. So learning is the mechanism that we need to provide in machine learning model, using machine learning model. And this is the objective. AI timeline, you can see this timeline, which is very, very attractive. AI started in 1950s, which is by John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky. I know Marvin Minsky, he passed away a few years ago, and I met Marvin Minsky in Sydney, in Australia, when I was working. I work in my career in many universities in the world. If I counted, we need a long time. But I've been moving like a fly everywhere. So I was working in Sydney, I was working in Sorbonne in Paris in 2001 and 2. But we talk about cognitive way of thinking, how we look to people and how machine looks to the people. And that was Marvin Minsky's idea on cognitive engineering in AI and provide some sort of human way of thinking. So this was in 1970s, and in 1989, I worked with a guy we called Ernest Edmond, and we built what is known knowledge-based system. It's an international journal by Elsevier, and that journal I built with my colleagues. I was a PhD student, and in 1989 we built this journal. 1989 was no AI, so the vision on knowledge representation, machine thinking, cognitive engineering was there flying like birds around us, but we don't know how to implement it. There was no machine learning at that time, no neural networks. So in this way, in 1989, 1990s, expert system with application, I think you know this journal, expert system with application, knowledge-based system, applied soft computing. This journal was just floating. Nobody knew what they are. So we built this journal, and I'm proud that I was editor-in-chief of this journal for 20 years. I retired from the journal in 2020 because I want to do something vision, and now Springer attacked, and they asked me to be editor-in-chief of Applied Intelligence Journal, which is Springer. It's Q1, Q2 journal, and it's still very attractive in this. So this timeline is very attractive to see how the AI or machine learning model involved in many advanced applications. I'm staggering with the time. So machine learning, blah, 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 like that. And I would like to highlight in this slide the issue of data, because machine learning model hungry on data. And that's why we see the data come from different ways, multi-source data, and that's the red part is the problem in machine learning model. When I have a data, I try to normalize the data in order to provide the model, decision tree, random forest, blah, blah, blah. These models use some sort of data-oriented. So when the data come, they come in different way. The categorical data, blah, blah, blah. This is the way when we deal with a model, how we normalize the data. Without normalization, you cannot use these kind of computation models. So this is, in fact, a problem. And this problem, we built a new technology now recently with many kinds of fusion models. Fusion model is attractive, but I will not discuss these fusion models today. But I say, become a challenge to store data in a different way. Because a meaningful way means to understand and allow the machine to understand what the data about and how they make decisions, taking into account the data in a variety of ways. And this is a problem, in fact. So these problems, like if I make normalization and perfect thinking, still I have a problem in my data. We say missing value and data imbalance. Data imbalance because we collect data from multi-sensing environment, and these crucial problems, in fact, make my model not sustainable. And so this is a challenge, in fact. And so the challenge in big data, high dimensionality, unscalable computation, blah, 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 blah. And these are a big challenge. When I have a lot of paper come to my journals, and most of the paper, when I ask these questions, still they have a problem to solve it. So you can say, I have a prediction model, but I told you the data is imbalanced. What you will do? Well, I will need to balance the data beforehand. Balancing the data is a very complicated task, and you risk the sustainability of the system in terms of quality or accuracy. So this is missing that, blah, blah, blah. This thinking is still become very important. Another problem is concept drift. And the concept drift, in order to sustain the system, we need to have understanding of how the data may change. So we say there's a terminology we use, we call it in distribution, means you have a model, and this model works only inside the distribution you already understand about it. We say out of distribution, the model should work with not in the same scale of the data that I use to model my system, but out of distribution. I'll talk about these things because out of distribution, we need to predict it in advance in order to provide good understanding on my model sustainability in distribution and out distribution. So the concept to drift become very important. These thinking, and 10 years ago, we don't know. But recently, in the last 5 years, I reject a lot of paper because they don't handle these issues. And these issues become very important. We don't want to use a machine that dedicated only to the scale of the data we fed. We need to have a machine that understands out of that data what to do. And this has become very crucial for the sustainability of machine learning models. And in fact, there's another problem. Most of the machine learning models use black box thinking. And black box thinking I skip these. Before I go, let's, I need to go back. Black box thinking, because these are the conventional way. Conventional way, the scale of data is not much. The scale of data is not much, means I can use, say, thousands of people to do facial recognition. But among these 1,000 people, there are homogeneous people, like people from Japan or from China. Their face is already fixed. But when I put my model in Europe, it doesn't work because the face of European people are different. Like Professor Sawada told me, you are Japanese? No, because my face is not Japanese. But I born in Japan, I grew up in Japan, and my father is Japanese, but nobody think I am Japanese. And this is out of distribution, never. So this situation makes us in a way that my model is not predictable for a scale of the data that not handled. But the model should have some prior knowledge. There's some people like me, and this prior knowledge can provide some sort of extra uncertainty that solve the model. And this has become very attractive. Before, we don't have that kind of thinking. So this is the way that we start to look to what is called generative models. I don't know if you know what is generative models. Models that generate data. In order to say face like mine can be extracted with some properties based on some thinking, like this guy have a father for Japanese or have a mother from Europe. When I go to Europe, nobody care. But when I go to Japan, people, because we have automated machine now in Japan, no problem. Machines are not stupid. They are clever because they see the data. But when I go to the immigration officer, a man, they will think, oh, Japanese, like in China. I always looked at Japanese, no. They check a lot of parameters. And this parameter is okay, no problem. But if we extract these parameters into a machine learning model, become more attractive. That's why we say generative models. So this model is the conventional way, not much clever, but it solves us small problems. And that model is a big scale model, generative models. So generative models is the attractive way of generate data such that it can look like the data I have, but more broad sense. So suppose that the red one is some data I have, and the green one is my face data, and then The green one tried to adapt a lot of information in order to reach the red one. And this is a generative model. Generative model become very attractive and become overcoming the conventional way of thinking. And this is why we say, if we want a sustainability for these machine learning models, we cannot sustain this. We need to add a lot of data and train the machine learning model from scratch, training it, each change in the data. And this is practically impossible. That model can generate data and try to approach the new behavior or new fashion or new model of the data I have. So this is one thing that we need to think about. So I spent 15 minutes. Still, I have a lot of things. So the other thing is these models used in neural network, they are black box. There are millions of hyperparameter. So in my lab, when I ask students to train this model on some data, and we spend 2 days running the model on GPUs, and give me some model, not yet achieve the objective functions that we would design for. So we try to change some parameter and keep on this way. And this style of training is okay, but it's time consuming and we don't know what's going on, why the optimization works when we have some good prediction. So we call it black box. In the coming these years, in the last 5 years, we see some community in AI try to look at what is called explainable AI. I think you hear about it. Explainable AI is a way that I need to explain the output of my model that it's fit with your requirements, with the user requirement. And the user requirement either economics or lawyer or medical science expert. So this expert say the decision taken is okay, but I want to know why this has happened. And I want to go deeper into the design of how parameter is being changed. I cannot do that. But what I can do is to provide some sort of explanation that the decision taken by the machine can be adapted because blah, 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 blah. Some parameters or some new requirement that I need to adjust in order to achieve my objective. So the conventional way of AI, the statistical AI, which is machine learning generative models, and the explainable AI. So explainable AI become a new direction because we want to make sustainable system that can act not in the data scale that I provide, out of the data scale by some prior knowledge that I provide in order to extend the prediction that the machine learning do. So this is what I say. I don't read these slides because it's take time, but this is what we need to do. Statistical model for specific domain training of big data, no contextual capability and minimal explainability. This is already the old one, we'll go there. Explainable AI, system learn and reason with a new test and situation, out of distribution. So, so I go faster here because we don't have more time. What is explainable AI, blah, 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 blah. And this is the explainable AI, and this is go back to the explain. So we can explain to the deep learning model things that will not handled by the data is fed, but by the new change in the decision taken by that model in order to extend it. And this has become very attractive, the way to improve the machine learning model and see how we look to these kind of thinking. It's very, very attractive for a new challenge. And the new challenge is understanding. Black box is not anymore satisfiable by governors, by policymaker, lawmaker, by judge, by user who use the stocks market and want to know what's going on in his stocks, by even science. We need to understand the phenomena of change, not just give a prediction. So understanding, trust, transparency, iteration, these thinking become very attractive for us in order to have sustainable machine that can sustain the application even in different environments. And this is one of the important things. But in terms of explainability, it's not easy. For example, this is the conventional models we use. Explainability in terms of learning performance become difficult for deep learning. Not because the deep learning is not explainable. I mentioned generative model is very attractive and very nice, but still their explainability is not easy. We need to do something else. But other conventional model like decision tree, random forest, these can be explainable. So this is still in AI community, we have a big challenge on how we can adopt that kind of thinking. And these are more details about explainable. I skip it. In Europe, for example, we have a new law. And this law, we call it, this is the link, show how machine learning model have a new law to regularize, make some sort of systematic way of evaluate the decision taken by machines. So these called the Code of Conduct, Article 69, Transparency, Article 52, Conformity Assessment, Article 6, and SS. These articles designed by the European Union because they want to regularize the trustworthiness and using machine learning model in actual situation for the public service, for law, for economy, for design, and these become very regularized aspect. And well, these are skips. I want to talk about, so far I spent 20 minutes, right? Okay, I have for 20 minutes more. Thank you very much. So the next step in my talk, I would like to talk about the problem we face in machine learning model. We have explainable model, no problem. We could have a generative model, no problem. I can adapt sustainable decision making for my application. I have no problem, I make it. But hey, how about your data? The data can give me some problem because what we call it, some issue that we face it in machine learning community for sustainable application. The data, which is bias, the bias. So the bias and fairness in the data give me some sort, or labels, the labels, because data are labeled. We label data, you are labeled. You have a name card, I have a different name cards. So my face is different and labeled. So this labeled data, it's some sort of have some stereotype of thinking, some concept. And this concept, if it is confound means if interrupted. If the concept is confounded, then there is a problem in accuracy or sustainability of my model. So we say, this label problem, fairness problem, bias problem. The bias, fairness, and confound in labels could produce to me some sort of out-of-distribution thinking. And out-of-distribution thinking means there is uncertainty in this situation here. Uncertainty in my model. to be applicable, because I'm thinking only here in distribution. So I'm highlighting this problem in this coming time. And this problem, I just put the image of facial recognition. I put the example. This is very popular paper, published paper, and it shows the data imbalance, which is not imbalance, the bias in the data, So you can see American Indian, female Indian are not easy. Like my face in Japan, I'm not Japanese, but I look Japanese. This is the labels. So you can see white female, black female, blah, blah, blah. These have a good outcome. But that's why when you go to the US, people will look to your face and they put it out. Hey, give me your passport. Where you come from? In the US, especially from Asia. Because American Indian female, American Indian male, Asian female, black male have little bit accuracy, not much. And this means false match rate per 10,000. And this is published work. This published work by Google because want to enhance the machine learning model, especially in facial recognition, in order to show the trust in the decision-making taking. And this is, we call it some sort of bias in facial detection. This is an example. And in many papers, I come to my journal, I reject the paper because some of the paper are very biased. They look to some sort of data which is not general, and if this happens, then this model is not sustainable in many applications. So why I should send it to review. And this is another example in bias in image. If I put an image, train my CNN for money image like this, everybody knows this lady is going to marry as a prime. But if I put this image, though in India it's a marriage, but the machine said, no, I don't know what's this. So these bias levels give you views on how we can look to the data. So bias in image classification, and this is one thing, and the labeling, we label prototype a concept. So I said confound decision because I cannot explain the labels. And these labels is very important for our understanding on the data. Bias in AI, in data, in the model, in training and deployment, evaluation and interpretations. These are very common, especially for a conference dealing with sustainability. We need to provide some sort of stereotype views on the label and the bias. And this is another example of bias in object recognition. I skip these because these are the thinking. I'm sorry, I should go back. Is this confusing? So this is one of the examples. And bias in an AI life cycle. We say here, I mentioned already the black part, but here in distribution robustness, B test, when some distribution I test, the B trend. Out of distribution I talk, which is a terminology used for when you train a model in distribution, out of distribution when you train the model out of the data. The data is not the trend anymore, it's out of distribution. So we say B test, it doesn't equal to B trend. And this can be solved. I'm sorry to go more details. Covariate shift, distribution of feature, change to be fixed, and open set recognition, a new class may appear at test time, or label shift, blah, 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 blah. So these are issues that we can handle it using uncertainty when we do decision for auto-distribution in terms of auto-distributions. And this can be overgeneralization. In fact, if we have an image like this, the image out of distribution, this is in distribution, and the out of distribution, it can be different than the one we train the system for. And this situation, but in reality is like this. Reality is like that. So we need to be very careful when we have some sort of data that is not a trend in the model. And this is one of the example run as example. You can see the skin color, but we have a diversity of skin color. I already trained my model for image recognition based on skin color. And can the late distribution to identify unwanted bias? So here we say, this is another way we can mitigate bias, mitigation of the bias, correct the bias. And this can be using by latent function. I can put encoder, decoder, and in Z, I train on this kind of ways, and then I fit a new definition of skin color out of distribution on this distribution. So the red one is the out of distribution, the green one is in distribution, already I know, and I try to train on some variation on the new data out of distribution and try to adjust this data by using some sort of covariance adjustment such that the Z adapt to new change. And these are very attractive solutions. We can see it can be adapted by using encoder, decoder. And this is one example I could show you. So fairness is a best practice, data set documentation, model reporting, algorithmic solution. So this is a fairness, AI-based practice, algorithmic solution, data and evaluation. So we can provide some sort of a fair application, fair solutions for out of distribution for the model that I trained them for. And this is one challenge in the neural network problems in terms of training. And these are the problem we need to, this is an example, but I will not have time to explain this. It's image recognition, how we can, you can see this decision, this image generated from this image is not the same because the image behind the dog is green. So a machine learning model confuse the green with the green of the ears and confuse with the tongue and cheek become the same. And this is sometimes of fairness problem. Uncertainty in deep learning make this sustainability problem. You can see it's an autonomous vehicle in medicine, blah, 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 have a big problem. And uncertainty out of distribution. I think you know, understand what mean out of distribution. The safety, decision-making, active learning, life learning, reinforcement learning. These are the models that we need to handle in terms of out of distribution. All models are wrong, but some model that know when they are wrong. This is interesting because most machine model decision-making, they are fooled by the data, but they need to know when I'm wrong. And this has become very attractive statements that uncertainty out of distribution, robustness, or sustainability should be adopted by these kind of models. And this is a new challenge, in fact, and this kind of a new challenge can help us to provide a good out of distributions, robust models. I skip this because this is an example, and uncertainty, data uncertainty, blah, blah, blah. These are the very attractive in the community of machine learning models, labeling noise, measurement, blah, blah, blah. And these are a very beautiful example of a good challenge for research and machine learning community. And I put this word, calibration error, for out distribution, from in distribution to out distribution, confidence and accuracy. These are two things we need to adjust. Predicted probability of correctness and observe the frequency of correctness. So these two things, they should calibration error, make my model robust or resilient or sustainable in terms of data that I didn't take into account. The confidence that the model is give and how much is accurate. And if you know stochastic gradient descent, neural network can help us to achieve this objective. This formula can be used, can be measured by stochastic gradient descent in neural network. Our probabilistic machine learning like Bayesian neural network or approximation that the posterior probability, some information, I have a prior knowledge on something that I add as a confidence in order to provide me with some collaboration error. And ensemble learning is part of these challenges. Okay, thank you so much. Keep me time. Neural network limitation, this is also one of the challenge, data hungry, blah, blah, blah. And each part of this statement is a big research challenge in artificial intelligence community. And still we have very interesting solutions to these limitations. And one of these challenge, an example, one of these challenge is training of CNN. And the training of CNN, we use computation. We call it spatial analytics, which is a local feature. And with filter, 1, 2, 3, this is a way of using CNN. But we have a problem here because we use computation of spatial, very detailed neighbor communication pixels. And this is very expensive in terms of time and computation. But we can avoid this problem. We can avoid this problem by using what's called a graph. And a graph, these are the problem. Many real-world data, like network, cannot be captured by standard encoding or Euclidean geometrics. And this is a problem. I reject a paper when they deal with this kind because this is too old and doesn't give me this, the resilient property of machine learning models. And so I use a graph. And the graph convolutional neural network become very attractive. I can predict the geometric analytics using a graph. And this graph can help me a lot in providing some sort of a better way of decision making. I skip this because this is another problem, deal with generative AI and diffusion models. And diffusion model is very attractive the same way I explained to you on latent variables. So I can train using some noise that's useful for transfer learning and some application related to this one. The application on this automated machine learning models can be used for, protein structure generation. And this diffusion model helped me to design a new protein structure. And this is already a very interesting application we can see so far. Another challenge is automated machine learning. This is my research. I do a lot of work in automation for healthcare decision making. Another challenge, evidential deep learning. And evidential deep learning is to do the generative model, like ChatGPT, example. So these are very interesting model. I don't have time for it, but if you have a question, you can ask me about these volunteer in machine learning and sustainable application. I skip this. Evidential deep learning, more details. And the conclusion, still machine learning has to achieve robust, resilient properties to learn and from data. And that's what I mentioned in distribution in terms of out distribution. Smart healthcare, I didn't explain smart healthcare because I don't have time. I have many slides on healthcare system for prediction of stroke and prediction of heart failure using these models. I use the data from European hospitals in Czech Republic, and we build these models. I have a lot of slides on this, but if you have a question on it, it's my pleasure. Trustworthiness is a solution are critical to achieve safe and secure application, satisfy a variety of culture and needs. Culture and needs means different types of domains that this data can fall with. Thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, please give applause for Professor Fujita. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Fujita, for your very insightful speech. Now we will go ahead and take some time for the question and answer session. If the audience have a question, please feel free to raise your hand. And then before you're asking your question, please introduce yourself and state your institution or affiliation. Okay, are there any question, comment, or suggestion from the audience? Okay, Pak Data. Okay, please stand up and ask your question. Yeah.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mahendra Datta. I'm from Brawijaya University. And thank you very much, Professor Fujita, for a very nice and insightful presentation. So I would like to tell you that my field is in cybersecurity. And in cybersecurity, we deal a lot of problem with a novel attack. So attack that doesn't appear before and only appear in the future or now, for example. So based on your experience, what is the best approach to deal with novel or unknown attack or unknown class? Because machine learning cannot classify or cannot detect this novel or new attack. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the question. Unknown was part of the uncertainty I mentioned already. And the uncertainty become very important. So the unknown, if we know it's unknown, we can solve it. But machine cannot understand this is unknown, but it predicted in a way or the other by some sort of prediction or estimation, by generate some sort of a data. So the generated data maybe can solve the thing which is I don't know. But I don't know what is unknown. Do you understand? So I don't know what is unknown. If I know the unknown, I can predict it. But I don't know. For example, an autonomous car driving system. An autonomous car driving system, we have image recognition. And the car have a lot of ladder device, blah, blah. There are a lot of devices. And this device makes some prediction. Suppose there is an object, the machine or the car doesn't know this is a human or something else. So there is some situation that the car cannot recognize there is a human. So but if we know that things, probably there's a human, we can solve it. But we don't know this is a human or not. We don't know. And this is a problem in generative models. Generative models generate data, but they don't know we don't know. What is unknown. So that's why we need to be very careful in terms of confidence. So the confidence is predicting probability of correct decision, that this is a human. And observe a frequency of correctness. Is this correct decision or not? So this trade-off can provide some sort of error, that something which maybe I don't know. If I know this, perfect. But I don't know, I don't know. And that's the problem of the machine learning model deal with in distribution, perfect in terms of accuracy, but this distribution, is it correct for things which we don't know? And this is the confidence. And these become very important for us because we applied for healthcare, We applied for driving, for autonomous car driving, for critical application. So that's why we need to know what we don't know. You got this? Yeah. And there are a lot of interesting work already started to work on. And I put some volunteers, evidential deep learning. I put this thinking, these limitation because will not give me the I don't know. So we need to solve this problem. Representing uncertainty can be algorithm bias. Uncertainty, how to know what the model knows. This is one of the questions. How do you know what the model knows? How you know that this car can recognize there is a human behind the walls, maybe going to cross? We humans know that, but machines should understand these kind of thinking. And this problem, in fact, has become very attractive in machine learning community. And I put some solutions, evidential deep learning, graph, CNN, evidential deep learning, and these issues become some sort of ways to handle the problem that you ask about.
How, Dr. Data?
Okay,
It is
thank
enough.
you very much.
Thank you, Prof, for the answer. We still have time. Professor Lailil, do you have a question? Okay.
They feel shy, like Japanese.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Fujita. Okay, my name is Lailil from Brawijaya University. Okay, I would like to ask you about the dataset. Actually, in medical datasets, the class distribution is often highly imbalanced, especially for in genomic or DNA sequence. So my problem is how to get to improve the number of the data when I use data augmentation technique using generative models. It's not visible for the type of the data. Last time ago, I already conduct the research to generate a model to get the huge data for the sequence DNA, but it's impossible. I got the accuracy is decreased. So I need your solution. Maybe if you any idea to improve to get the more number of the data, especially for the medical data and imbalanced data. So maybe another alternative or the solve the problem, not using the generative model. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Very interesting. Well, the question was dealing how we can solve the data imbalance problem, right? Or how to improve the model in terms of the accuracy.
Yes, and also for the DNA sequence, because in DNA sequence is different with another data, because the sequence is the different meaning.
So this is what I mentioned, out of distribution. So I train the model, and out of distribution, out of my scale of data, the model may be not correct, and provide some sort of compromise of how I can generalize the models. There are very interesting work, in fact, on what is called, I think I put here, this is the formula, which is I mentioned to you already, on the confidence in terms of the accuracy, which is some sort of a balance. And the solution can be probabilistic machine learning, Bayesian neural network. Bayesian is very interesting of different distribution, I can train the neural network on not on data, values, on distributions, and different distribution can calibrate the error in terms of confidence and accuracy, and the posterior ensemble learning. If you look to these terms, you will find very interesting solutions on your problem. Posterior ensemble learning or Bayesian neural network, because you can feed the neural network with different Bayesian prior knowledge information as a distribution functions. And then you can achieve the confidence. So the confidence is some sort of training, though the model is not trained on data, on data is already there, it's out of distribution, but the out of distribution can be approximated by using posterior knowledge, posterior information. Do you know what's posterior information? Yeah. So this is come by assumption, come by some fusion models, can be done by some sort of generation you estimate, and these are hypotheses. If you provide some hypothesis and you prove this hypothesis can be represented as probabilistic as a prior knowledge, then you can extract the posterior information to train the ensemble learning models.
Yeah, how Dr. Raidil?
Okay, thank you.
This enough. Okay, we are so sorry the time is up. So, well, it looks like we have covered all questions. Once again, thank you very much, Professor Fujita, for your insightful speech, and of course, everyone for your kind attention and contribution. Now, I hand the session back to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you. Please give a round of applause to Dr. Fujita and Dr. Edita. Please stay well in front of the stage. We will present a token of appreciation. Kindly invite to the stage Dr. Triastoto Kurniawan to present the token of appreciation. There's another one for the certificate. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Triastoto. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have a short break for the next session, and the following keynote speech will start afterward. The next session will start in 5 minutes. We kindly invite you to enjoy the coffee or tea that has been prepared in front of this ballroom. Thank you very much. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, now we move to our second keynote speaker. We welcome to our keynote speaker, Professor Hideyuki Sawada from Waseda University, Japan. Dr. Ageng Setiabudi from Universitas Brawijaya will moderate this session. Please welcome and give a round of applause.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Welcome to the second keynote session of this conference. And today we are pleased to welcome Professor Hideyuki Sawada, a very special guest from Waseda University, Japan. Good morning, Sensei.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
It is first time for you to visit Bali, right?
Yes, okay. This is the first time.
Yeah. Before we move to the presentation, let me take a moment for introducing our keynote speaker. Hideyuki Sawada is a professor in Department of Applied Physics, Faculty of Science and Engineering, Waseda University. He received a Bachelor of Engineering and Master of Engineering and also PhD degree in Applied Physics from Waseda University in 1990, 1992, and 1999, respectively. In 1999, he joined the Department of Intelligent Mechanical System Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, Kagawa University, as an associate professor, and became a professor in 2010. And his current research interests include robotics, sound and image processing, machine learning, human interfaces, and tactile and sensing and display. And today in this conference, he will share his expertise with us. The title of his presentation is Socio-Economic Sustainability Enabled by Information, AI, and Robotic Technology. And this session will consist of presentation and question and answer, and I believe it's no more than 45 minutes. But okay, Professor Sawada, time is yours.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Okay, my name is Hideyuki Sawada from Waseda University. Yeah, I belong to the Department of Pure and Applied Physics, and I have been mainly studying and working in the field of physics, and then developed into the application of physical issues into the AI, robots, and some more. Okay. And today, the title of my talk is Socio-Economic Sustainability Enabled by Information, AI, and Robotic Technologies. And the first three, I would like to introduce our university and our robotic studies. Okay, and the Waseda University, where I belong, is known as the first inventor of human-sized biped robot developed in okay, no, it doesn't work. Oh, can you, yes. Yeah, thank you. Yes, developed in 1973, more than 50 years ago. It is a human-sized robot to walk more than 50 years ago. Let's see, and then in 10 years later, we have developed a piano-playing robot. Yes, like that. Doesn't work. Very, oh, okay, like this. And so far, we have developed many kinds of humanoid robots to walk, not only to walk, but also to do some behavioral activities to work with human. Okay, then this is a demonstration video of the. Okay, yes, the first robot. You see, at that time, the first one could walk, but the time for one step required almost 30 seconds, because in this robot, the balance is made by statistically, step by step, by just moving very small amount of the motion to be balanced. And then about, let's see, 5 years later, we have developed much human-like biped robot to walk much dynamically. And then, okay, next one. Okay, then this is a piano playing robot. Yes, like this. And also, this was introduced in 1984, and next year in 1985, the World Expo was held in Japan, in Tsukuba, and then in the expo, the robot made co-performance with a real orchestra. And as far as we record, yeah, this is the one, okay? Then this may be the first example of a robot to work with a real human, like human interaction and the human co-playing in one music like this. It was a successful example of the human-robot interaction to co-work together more than 50 years ago. This robot could read the musical scores by using image processing techniques to recognize what is described in the musical score. Then the musical information is converted into the planning of the motion of fingers, arms, and feet, so that the robot played the keyboards like this one. Okay, and also, no, okay. Oh no. It's very, okay. Yeah, and in 1995, we further developed a robot to make a different type of walking with a dynamic planning control. Okay, and the idea for the control of the biped robot is to control the inverted pendulum. At that time, more than 30 years ago, the robot's walking was introduced by the precise control of the inverted pendulum by setting many motors in the robot. No. Oh no. Oh yeah, this one. Okay, like this. Then the control theories have been developed for the smooth biped walking. But as you know, these days, there are many humanoid robots have been introduced by many companies and universities. But these recent robots is not installed with a control mechanism. Rather, most of them installed the AI, machine learning based by referring to the reinforcement learning. It is also a successful example of the reinforcement learning based on the deep learning to be installed in a real robot to make a walking performance pretty flexibly these days. So, okay, these robots had some control theories in the motors and the controls method, but mainly the walking performance is realized by the machine learning technologies these days. So many different type of robots have been introduced in the world for commercial products these days. Okay, and also so far we have in Waseda University we have Future Robotics Organization, and yeah, these days we are much paying attention to not the biped walking, but also much dexterous articulation of a robot to dexterously handle objects like this. What? Oh no! Why it doesn't work? Yeah. Okay. Yes. This robot is able to crush egg, and then it can make a scrambled egg, and in the sunny side up eggs, and also this one. Like, oh no, and the right one. This robot yeah, this robot is able to make a verbal communication with a human, and also it can flexibly handle chopsticks, and the straws, and the cups, to make a good support over handicapped people and someone like this. Yeah, this robot is installed with a very dexterous fingers and hand to handle flexibly the object like this in a real situation. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, then robots in society. As you know, the robots have been firstly introduced in the production sector, secondary sector of industries as industrial robots. In such robots, they are required to make a precise control for mass production of products with a very precise motion. And then after such robotic technologies has been extended to the primary sector of industries and also tertiary sectors of industries, like a service robot, agricultural robot, and more. But in the case of the tertiary sector of industries, the robots are required to make a good communication with human. So to do so, the robot cannot get hurt with humans. And also we have some touch communication. So in such robots, the robotic technologies should be extended not only for the robotics control itself, but also the robot has to be considered to make a collaboration, including a touch and some more with real humans. So not to get hurt human. Okay. So and also, okay, this is another project initiated by our university. This is a Gundam. Gundam is a cartoon or animation firstly introduced in Japan in 1970, some years, 40 years ago. And this project was to realize a robot with the real size of Gundam, 10 times taller than human. And also they are alumni of Waseda universities, and also, yes, no pointer. No pointer, okay. The professor, okay, in the top center, Professor Shuji Hashimoto is a supervisor of my doctoral study, and he was the director. And also the top right one, Professor Pitoyo Harutono, he is a professor from Indonesia. He's now a professor in Chukyo University, and he has been working also for technical issues for the control system. Okay, and okay, yes, this is the picture of the robot Gundam, and also, okay, like this, it moves with the size of 10 times of real human. The height is 18 meters. Yeah, and if we human becomes 10 times taller, how much weight we should have? Yeah, the weight can be cubed of the cube of the length. So if the person with the 60 kilograms becomes 10 times taller, the weight should be 60 tons. Yeah, great. And also, we have been working for lightening the weight, but the total of this robot is 25 tons. And also, we installed 34 motors to move its body like this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is me. And the height is this one. Okay. And this Gundam has been exhibited from April 2021 until just last year, for 3 years in Yokohama, in Japan. Okay. It moves like this. It moves slowly because the motion is realized by motors, but we human beings do not have the motor with greater power. So we need to settle gears, multiple gears, to increase the power of the rotation. So the mixtures of gear reduces the speed, but it increases the power. So it realizes this motion, yeah, like this. It's very nice one. And after the exhibition in Yokohama, this robot was moved to Osaka for the exhibition of the Osaka World Exhibition. Yes, just closed last Sunday in Japan. Yes, it was exhibited. Okay, yeah, like this. It was exhibited in the place of the Osaka Expo for about 6 months until last Sunday. Yeah. Okay. Then this robot has the structure, the mechanical structure realized by the construction machinery engineering technologies, and the control system has been developed by industrial robotic and network systems, and also the exterior design was realized by sculpture professional artworks to make beautifully the outside. Okay, and the unprecedented mechanical system that integrates multiple technologies has been gotten together to realize this one. Okay, yes. Okay, and this is a robot and the exhibition. Okay, and then the different, so we have many different technologies to be applicable to robots. And then we now have different directions of robotics with AI. Okay. Okay. The robots has been developed from factory to home for service robots to support human beings and our daily life. And also in the factories, the robotic technologies have been developed to make a Superman with a pretty incredible speed, with a very precise motion for the mass production up to now. But to make a robot to be friendly with a human, it should be not so precise. Instead, it should be flexible and soft and understandable to human. So different technologies should be required, not only just a simple sensing for the situation, for precise control, but also by multiply integrating sensing technologies, then the motion, a flexible motion should be generated by such robots. Okay, and also GUI to post GUI. And we know that the good AIs and machine learning technologies have been introduced in computers, so that you can use ChatGPT or some very good softwares in daily life using mobile phones and some systems. But such technologies can be also installed into our machine systems or real actual environment to be as post GUI or physical AI to work in mechanical systems. Okay, this is also what we are doing in my laboratory. Okay, and from virtual to real, and the Gundam can be exhibited in a virtual reality world with 3D glasses, but the real size Gundam to move in front of you is pretty different. Yeah, it moves up to you, over your head, and really, it is amazing. So the recognition by the virtual world is still different from the real, the robotic system. Okay. So this should be another direction for the application of the AI, the robots with AI. Okay. Okay, and then the tool to partners. Okay, and then such robots are required to establish a new relationship between human and the machine. Okay, in the industrial robots, no, the automation technologies was very important technologies based on the physics. Then such robotic technologies have been developed into the much wider areas by introducing not only physics, but also physics for a numerical calculation controlled by PCs, computers. And also, then next one, the robots in human environment, they should require much wider multidisciplinary areas for the physics, logic, and AI to realize emotion, human emotion, affectiveness, heartfulness, feelings, and something like that. Okay. Okay. Then, okay. This is some steps for the developing of the robots. Firstly, in the classical robots, they can understand the logics to go, stop, turn for precise actions. And also, then in the next step, the robots are able to understand quantitatively commands like to understand the 90 degrees turning, move 1 meters, and something more. And also in the next step, with the fuzzy recognition, the robot can be applied for understanding much flexible one to move a little bit, hold hard on something. But this kind of fuzzy understanding are greatly dependent on the situation. For example, in the case of the human to human communication, when the other one stays somewhere in this room, and I say, come here, then you may come around here, right? But if the other one stays in another room, and I say, hey, come here, then the guy may come not here, but someone else to enter this room. So only come here, well, the word come here can be greatly dependent on the situation between the human and the situation. Of course, in the case of the robots, to work with human, this kind of flexibility should be properly understood to realize the very good robot. Okay, let's see. Okay, next one. Okay, role of robots with AI. Okay, we have different levels. Okay, yes, we have to go forward. Yes. Okay. In the robotic industry, they, to construct a robot, we need to combine different technologies like hardware, software, I/O, peripherals, sensors, actuators, and also assembly and something more for the construction of a robot, and even a computer. The computer technology is okay, it's also pretty multidisciplinary. Not only, it is not only to gather the computer parts to make it into one computer, but also these days, the semiconductor technologies are pretty important issue for the good computers, especially these days. 2 nanometer step of the gap of the semiconductors are recently in market this year, and also such 2 nanometer gap semiconductors will be installed in very good mobile phones and precise computers. So for the much better and low energy consumption computers for the sustainable development. Okay. Yeah, and okay, then I move to the topic of the artificial intelligence. And the AI was just introduced by Professor Fujita just now. So I briefly introduced this one, okay, from the little bit different viewpoints. Okay. So far, the AI has been in the research area. Currently, we are in the boom we are in the third boom of the AIs. Okay, as you may know, the first boom came around 80 years ago with the introduction of the neural model by McCulloch and Pitts, like this. Then they introduced a very basic idea of the neurons that has been that is in your brain. They are trying, the McCulloch and Pitts are trying to use this idea into the calculation. And also, then by referring to the logic, computer logics, the neural model can be effectively used to make a calculation based on the logic by the introduction of the perceptron by Rosenblatt. Yes, and then, but around the 1960s, Marvin Minsky and their colleagues introduced the limitation of the perceptron that cannot realize the nonlinear functions with the perceptron at that time. So the second boom was decreased. But, okay, in 1980s, the backpropagation algorithm had been newly introduced by Lamelhart. Then the second boom came. In the second boom, the establishment of the nonlinear function by neural network has been greatly studied at that time. And yes, including the deep learning algorithm, the basic idea and the mathematical issues had been mostly introduced in the research of 1980s. Because when I was a student in 1980s, and I belonged to the research laboratory in Waseda University, and I studied the theories of neural network at that time, and I have studied many of the mathematical issues of the neural network and the machine learning. Then, but at the time in 1990s and 80s, the limitation of the computer power was greatly. So if we make as far as we have made a very good mathematical formula to be installed in the neural network at that time, but the computer memories and the calculation speed was limited. So we have difficulty running the mathematical, the equations and theories into a real system. So by the end of the 1990s, the second boom was also declining. But then, in 10 years later, deep learning had been installed by these. Yes, the newly introduced. Okay. And then the third boom came, and we are now in the third boom with the deep learning and some other, machine learning algorithm. But as you may know, the deep learning algorithm was mostly referred to the neocognitron introduced by Fukushima. Okay, doesn't work. Sorry. Oh. Okay. This one, yes, neocognitron, 1980s. Yes, by Professor Fukushima. He was a he's now. He used to be a professor of Osaka University in Japan, and he's now engaged in the research activity. In the age of 90s, he's pretty active. The deep learning algorithm is greatly okay. No, doesn't work. Yes, no. It doesn't work. Yeah, maybe, yes. Yes, maybe I should use it, yes. Right, like this. Okay, yes, thank you very much. Yes, yes, okay, yes. Okay, neocognitron. It was introduced by Professor Fukushima, and then the deep learning refers to this idea of the combination of the S cells and the C cells. They are different functions that had been found in our brain for the recognition of the visual systems. Okay, the S cells react to the characteristic shape in the vision, and also C cells works for combining appropriately some features into the one object, like this one. Okay, like this one. in the case of the recognition of alphabet A, this alphabet has some geometric features like some triangle, intersection, and something. Then the S cell works to recognize some geometric characteristic features. And then C cells works to properly combine the information into the recognition for the character of A. Okay, this idea was successful in the 1980s, and I have studied it mathematically 40 years ago in my student days. And then Professor Fukushima was pretty excellent was to combine the combination of the S cells and the C cells several times to make a layer, to make layers, okay, like that one, then to work very well, effectively for the visual recognition. And as far as you have been doing the deep learning algorithm, this algorithm is installed in the deep learning, and then as you know, the deep learning is greatly based on this idea into the recognition process. Okay, and then these days, the deep learning algorithm has been introduced not only for the visual recognition, but also the auditory information, and also any numerical data to be recognized properly for associating the data set into some meaning of that human would understand, right? Okay, then here, the information of one picture, you see. Suppose that we have a full HD picture with a resolution of 2K by 1K. Then each cell has the color with 8 bits, 3 colors. Then how many information it has? Okay, the information given by one picture is 8 multiplied by 2K by 1K by 3 with RGB color. Then the total numerical value of the information is 49 megabit. Okay. Then we consider 1 second moving picture with the 30 frames per sec. Then the total information of 1 second full HD video is 1.5 gigabit. Then if you prepare this amount of memory in a computer, 1.5 gigabit, then how many kinds of information or picture information you will have? Okay, mathematically you can calculate it. It is, okay, possible variation of 1 second moving picture should be 2 to 1.5 giga, right? It is mathematics. Yeah, for these memories, you can consider these variations. How much it is? It is pretty great number. For example, number of atoms in the universe is approximately 10 to 80. The information of the 1 sec video is much greater than the number of the universe, the atoms in the universe. Wow, it is pretty great. So the computer science have been trying to recognize one picture and recognize what it is in the picture. So before the deep learning, the computer engineering have been trying to introduce many algorithms to properly recognize objects in the picture. But there were, pretty great, the problem and the difficulties. But somehow, after the introduction of the deep learning, the recognition of objects in the pictures are pretty good, thanks to the algorithm of the deep learning. So deep learning works pretty effectively. Recognize the objects in the picture by the learning given by the data set flexibly. Okay. So this is the third boom of the deep learning and the machine learning technologies these days, and somehow it is going on. So many young people are having interest in the research of the deep learning. Okay. Okay. This is okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. And this is the comparison of the computer and the human brain. Okay. So here the memory capacity of human and the computers these days are almost the same, as you see. From the viewpoint of the number of the neurons and the number of the memories like this. But in the software part, it is still greatly different, because the computer works in the speed of several gigahertz with the clocks, right? On the other hand, the human brain does not work so fast. Yeah, up to tens hertz, but it works. And also, the problem is the thermal generation, thermal energy consumption. Okay, in the case of the computers, if you work a computer in a full speed, the temperature of the CPU goes up to 100 degrees. It means that the calculation cost is not given to the calculation itself, but the radiated as a heat. It is not good from the viewpoint of the environment. Okay. In the case of the human, as far as you use your brain pretty hard, your body temperature is kept 36 degrees. So it means that the effectivity of the calculation cost of human is much better than computers. So for the next generation computers are required to make it in a much energy sufficient the calculation methods in the future. Okay, like this. Yeah, these problems should be solved in the future, right? Okay, yeah. And this shows the applications of AI. As you know, there are many applications for the surveillance and the sound recognition and many of them. Yes, and also there are many applications to the medical field and the support of the handicapped people like this. Yeah, variety. Then, as Fujita Sensei introduced, explainable of artificial general intelligence is greatly required these days. Okay, this is also a calculation of the control of a human-like hand with a robotic hand. As you know, in the case of the human, we have 3 junctions for each finger. So in total, in one hand, we have 15 actuators and sensors for the grasping actions. So then it means that it has a 15 degrees of vector space for the control. Okay, then it means that the variety of the shape of the finger is this one, 1,000 trillion patterns of the fingers. Okay, but in the case of human, we do not calculate or visualize our fingers, but we can properly grasp object with a proper force of grasping, yeah, right? Not to drop it. But in the case of the robot, it is not possible. In the case of robot, we have to install sensors and the motors. Then the motors has to be precisely controlled to keep grasping an object, and also not to drop and not to destroy. So in the case of the robot has to recognize the softness or material of the object to perform proper grasping performance in a robot, which is pretty different from a human activity. We do not calculate such precise one, but we can make it. Okay. In the future, the AI, robots, and the human society for supporting humans and the environment. Okay, human, we have different stage of in life, from babies to adult, a boy, girl, adult, aged people. And then the supporting technology for such different stage of human should be greatly different. Babies should be, supported by caregiving. And then maybe for the young people, we do not need any support, but we have some, the knowledge support by mobile phones, because many young people are using mobile phones for supporting your daily life. And then in the aged people, we may have some physical support for safety and something more. Okay? And in the case of the society, we have different systems from city level, country level, global level, and maybe outer space. So robots to be applicable in different stage of human and in different scale of the society, the needs should be greatly different. So the different type of robots should be greatly required these days. Okay, and also the sustainable development. This is a picture presented in the Sustainable Development Goals webpage, and we have different, the difficulty for the aging society, climate change, including flood, drought, fire, and more due to the natural disasters, and the pandemic of the medical issues. Okay, you see. Okay, and also this is a prediction of the population. Yeah, from 150 years ago until 100 years later. In Indonesia, I understand that the populations are increasing, but in the case of Japan, the number of the population already started decreasing from 10 years ago. Especially in the countryside of Japan, the decrease of the population is incredible, like more than 1% per year. So the society in the countryside in Japan is, pretty, pessimistic, in fact, to keep the population, and also I don't find infrastructures for the comfortable life, like to keep the number of the buses, trains, and also the water lines, electricity supply. They need costs, but the number of the people are decreasing. So it means that the income by tax is decreasing. So we have very, very big difficulty. But as you know, in the case of Japan, the situation of the economy and the population is, in 50 years, is something like in Indonesia. But in this coming 50 years, 30 years, the great increase of the population and the economy is greatly changed into the decline or decrease. And this is the case. So you can refer to the situation of Japan, how we will go after this, to tackle this problem for the declining the population and the economy. Okay, and this is some pictures of the climate change. And also, in the case of the Japan, okay, so far we have many, maybe 4 big earthquakes damages in the last 100 years. Firstly, we have a record of the Great Kanto earthquake in Tokyo area in just 100 years ago. And at that time, we had a great fire to burn out Tokyo. And then, 1995, we had Great Hanshin-Awaji earthquake here in the Osaka area, Hanshin area. And at that time, the problem was the collapse of a building and associated fires. Okay. And then 15 years ago, we had a great East Japan earthquake in the Tohoku area, right? And we got a big damage from tsunami like this. They washed away. And again, just 1 year ago, just last year, we had Noto Peninsula earthquake in 2024, and the damage was caused by the great shake and the tsunami. So as you see, with only the big shake by earthquake, but the damage occurs in accordance with the situation of the environment, of the arrangement of the people, houses, and something. Greatly different. So just say we say big earthquake, but the damage occurs pretty different. Yeah, this is the situation. We have to consider what will happen in the situation of a different environment and more. Maybe, but now we have records and data. So we should be able to prepare for this kind of disasters in the future by referring to the data. Okay. And yeah, this is just last year, it was pretty, pessimistic situation like this. And the corona situation, at that time, 5 years ago, all the people were wearing masks to move like this. And we had some vaccines like this. Okay, yes, the robot with AI in our society. In Waseda University, different type of robots are being developed these days for support aged people and also for support the reconstruction of the damaged place of a situation like this. Okay, and these are the projects going on in our university, and also I'm working for that. So the robot can be applicable not only to realize a biped walking, but also to work in a multiple and different situations. So we have a lot to do with different robots with good AI for the control and the flexibility. Okay, the lastly, Pascal, Pensis, okay, he says, okay, this is French, okay, yeah. This is the explanation. Okay, man is only a seed, the weakest in nature, but he's a thinking breed. We have technology and science, but we cannot control the climate, environment. They have much big powers. Yeah. So we have unpredictable damage from earthquakes, or big rains, and something more, right? And he predicted something like that. Okay, and then we, the scientists and the technicians or engineers are trying to realize a good AI like a universe. Now, someone says that the AI will have an ability accessing human. Maybe, but I'm not agree. I do not agree with that. Human is much better. And he says, yeah, the universe knows nothing of. Yeah, right. We can see that the AI works pretty good. But as you know, from the viewpoint of the algorithm, the AI performance is realized by all the algorithms. It is totally different from a human. AI knows nothing. AI itself knows nothing. It only performs the calculation based on the learning with data set, right? Okay, then AI I can say that AI can do a lot, but AI knows nothing of. So we have to consider these issues. Then we should try to make a good application of AIs, right? Yeah. Okay. Maybe. Okay, you see, this is a history of human. Okay, if we set 1 meter with the birth of the history of 4.6 billion years old age, then if 100 million years is expressed as 1 meter, the history of the Earth is 46 meters, and the birth of mankind is 4 centimeters ago, right? The Industrial Revolution occurred 2.5 micrometers ago, and the transistor was invented 0.7 micrometers ago. Okay, our life, human life, 100 years is only 1 micrometer, as you know, in the history of the 46 meters of Earth. So we should not think that human will be able to control environment, but we think of the power of the environment of the Earth to work to be safely work in the future with the technology. Okay, this is all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sawada Sensei. Okay, now we are moving to the question and answer session. Please kindly raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, any question? Okay, Sensei, maybe I have a question for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We know that developing a robot, or if we want to have a research related to robot, the cost is not cheap, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
right,
because
right.
we have to build the mechanical,
Yes.
and also the electronic, and also the what is it, like the software itself.
Yes.
Yeah. What is your suggestion for us?
Yes.
Like that, like, do not have like we want to have a research like advanced research in robot.
Yes.
But how we start yeah, that kind of problem, like financial problem,
Yes.
and also knowledge problem.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you very much. In fact, I've been working with a humanoid robot when I was a doctoral student. Yes, and okay. These days, I'm working mainly with the soft robots, with a soft body, and the much smaller issues to work in a real environment. For example, this is a fish robot to swim intelligently swim in water, and this is an inchworm robot to move in a very small places with a soft body, and also we are using chemical reaction to generate energy to move in liquid. So these are some examples, and also we are referring to the insect, like, and also that one. We are trying to develop insect-like flying by flipping, not the rotating the motors, right? So there are different issues to be applicable to a robot, not a big one, but a small one. Like, for example, inchworm or small mosquito-shaped robot. They have a mechanical body to be controlled by muscles. Then by referring to such mechanical structure and the control methods using a very small sensors and actuators, they can work in a, for example, the very small place, not to go with a big body of robots. So yeah, and also this one, the robot, this one is also a robot, a manipulator robot to work in a liquid using a chemical reaction. Then like this one, if we consider robots in water to deliver something, it should be usually bigger using motors. But by using chemical reaction, it can simply realized like this one, with a small shape and a small energy. So you have different viewpoints to realize different issues in our daily life. Yeah, it is your answer.
So it is like depend on what kind of robot we want to develop.
Yes, sure, yes.
It has its own challenge, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
Yes, yes.
Okay, any question for?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
please. Okay. Yeah, we have two questions. Okay.
Okay, my name is Heru from the FILKOM. I will ask about how you use an processor or microcontroller type maybe, and how fast computation needed for your robot.
Which robot?
It
depends.
I think your sample.
Yeah,
Okay, maybe for small robot that we cannot use the like big computer or
Yeah.
use the.
Basically, for example, that robot and also the Sphere robot, we use a microcomputer, Jetson or Raspberry Pi for the control. So it does not require much computer power.
Okay.
Because in the case of the, for example, insects, they have a very small brain, but they can control their motions, flying, like anything.
So this is super for real-time computing in this robot?
In fact, do you know the research field of the reservoir computing?
Yes.
Yes, reservoir computing is computing using a physical body.
Oh.
So complex calculation can be transferred into the physical system.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that real computer calculation should be refused together with the real physical calculation in a body.
Okay.
So you can make it by referring to the some physical issues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe the last question from. Mas. Okay.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity and for the interesting presentation. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yudhistira from the Faculty of Computer Science, University of Brawijaya. And may I ask two questions? Okay, the first question is, as stated earlier, it is according to what robot we develop that it can be expensive or it can be inexpensive. In the case of maybe humanoid robots, it can be very expensive because very expensive components, and also maybe if there's damage during the experiment on humanoid robots, it can be expensive to fix or maybe replace the components. In that case, what the professor thinks about the development of the humanoid robot in simulation, which introduced a new challenge of transferring the developed robot in the simulation to the real robot, because obviously they have some disparity between simulation and real world. Yes. And that's the first question. The second question is there any direction of research from reinforcement learning towards more of explainable AI, so explainable reinforcement learning sort of? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the first one, yeah, it is a good idea to firstly make a physical simulation in a simulation environment, then the learning results can be transferred into a real system. Yeah, it should be a good idea. Yes, yes. Because a real system is much complex than the simulated environment. So usually it does not work well just to transfer the information. But after transferring the learned information into the real system, then we let the robot to make a reinforcement learning to work in a real system. Then it should gradually work in a real environment. This should be a one story. Okay? And also the second one about the explainable AI. Maybe reinforcement learning is to learn based on some knowledge or some different information. And the explainable AI is different issues. The explainable AI explains the reason why the association between the input and the output can be made, right? So different issues, but the these days, the deep learning works pretty good with a great amount of the data set learning. But they do not explain why. Like human masters, human masters, like a very good, for example, very good painters or the chess player, they are pretty strong. The master chess players are pretty strong, but they never explain why they are strong. So the AIs these days is something like this. They never explain the reason why it is. But we expect such AIs to explain why, different from the human masters. We can expect to make a explainable AI by referring to some intermediate expression of the network, or by setting some extra units to summarize some typical information to be visualized or to be understood by human. Yes, to be explainable. This is some approaches, different approaches for the explainable AIs. Is it okay?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, it answers my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Sawada Sensei, but the time is up. So before we close this session, let me highlight some main keys. So we have talked about the robots and also the history of robot and also the AI and how robot can work with human. Okay. Before we end this session, let me extend our gratitude to Professor Sawada for his contribution in this keynote session. Thank you for all of the participants for your kind attention. And lastly, let's give a big applause for Sawada Sensei. Okay, now I will pass back the mic to MC.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Sawada, for such interesting presentation. Please stay a while. We will present a token of appreciation. Please be invited to the podium, Dr. Triastoto Kurniawan, as the Dean of Faculty of Computer Science, will present a token appreciation and certificate to Professor Sawada. Let's give applause, everyone. Okay, one more time with the certificate. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we move to our third keynote speaker. We welcome the following keynote speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Serkan Girkin from University of Twente, Netherlands. This session will be moderated by Dr. Sigit Adi Nugroho. Please welcome them to the stage and give a round of applause.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sigit Adinugro from Brawijaya University, and for this session, I will be the moderator. So in modern society, computing is an inseparable part of our daily life. A new technology has emerged as a result of intensive research. And to cope this massive research, then we have to introduce a sustainable computation as well. So to guide us to this interesting topic, I will introduce you to the keynote speaker for this session, Dr. Serkan Girgin. Dr. Girgin is an associate professor in the Geoinformation Processing Department at the Faculty of Geoinformation Science and Earth Observation, or ITC, from the University of Twente, the Netherlands. He has established and is currently leading ITC's Center of Expertise in Big Geodata Science, or GRIP, a facility dedicated to advancing geospatial data and cloud computing technology by developing, collecting, and sharing operational expertise. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Girgin. Dr. Girgin, time is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you put the presentation? Okay, maybe while it's coming, I can briefly provide a little bit more information about myself. So I'm working for the University of Twente, Faculty of Geoinformation Science and Earth Observation. I joined the faculty about 5 years ago to establish a center, the Center of Expertise in Big Geodata Science. So it's a horizontal facility that we have at our faculty, which is performing research on big data and cloud computing topics, focusing on Earth observation and geospatial data. But we are also supporting our scientific departments for better use of these technologies for education, research, and capacity development activities. I have been performing research for more than 25 years, and most of this time I developed research software. That's why part of our center's activities are focusing on sustainable research software development and sustainable research data practices. So we are not only using this as part of our research activity, but we are developing tooling for that purpose so that our colleagues and other researchers can also benefit from what we are developing. Today, actually, I will talk about two aspects. The first one is FAIR principles, and the second one is energy efficiency, which I believe are really important for sustainable research activities. So, nowadays, when we talk about digital transformation, actually, we are talking about a double-edged sword, partly, because information technologies, which actually your faculty is mainly focusing on, are almost in every domain nowadays. So we have AI, we have big data analytics, we have cloud computing, Internet of Things. So it's almost virtually impossible to imagine a research field which doesn't use information technologies. While they accelerate and improve the efficiency of these disciplines, they are also causing significant environmental, social, and ethical impacts, actually. So this is where the sustainability comes into the scene. So basically, while producing, operating, and actually also during the disposal of IT systems, we are using significant amount of energy and resources. So especially this disposal part is most of the time underestimated, but basically disposal of IT systems cause also significant pollution to the environment, which we really need to take care significantly. Data centers, high performance computing systems, and especially the AI, deep learning systems, they consume significant amount of energy and they have a large environmental footprint. Also, achieving sustainability depends on collaboration across the disciplines. So this is very important, and information technologies actually can foster and enable such collaboration, but only if they are designed by considering openness and accessibility in mind. So if we follow open data practices, if we produce open source software, or if we utilize open platforms, then having such openness is possible. But if we use closed system, unfortunately, this is not the case. And lastly, which is especially relevant for nowadays, the digital technologies also shape the behavior, decision-making, and access to knowledge for almost everyone. So we see significant impacts of AI systems on social media. So basically, that can influence the thinking of the people. And actually, these technologies are heavily in use already by everyone. And it became the first place to go for people to get information. So we are not Googling anymore information. We are just going ChatGPT, we are asking the question, and we are taking the answer as it is the correct one, right? So how many of you are using ChatGPT or similar agents regularly, daily basis? Raise your hand. Okay? So we have plenty of people. This is good, but actually we should also always consider that a biased design of such systems can end up with inequalities. And actually Professor Fujita, during his talk, gave a nice example, right? So the systems which are trained with Western faces, they are not able to do the predictions correctly. But that is partly also, his talk was really interesting because that was also a bias coming from humans, right? Because he told that basically the Japanese officials, they are doing the same. So basically, it is possible to transfer these inequalities to AI systems. That's why we should be very careful. So achieving sustainability in our current digital age requires rethinking. Rethinking how we design, develop, and use information technologies as they enable, but at the same time challenge sustainable development. So if we look at from environmental point of view, then we can think that energy efficiency is really something important because it really has an impact on the environmental footprint of these information technologies. And if you look from openness point of view, then the FAIR principles are the ones which are basically setting the scene for open and accessible research. They are important because with FAIR principles, we can ensure that data and software can be discovered, shared, and reused efficiently by everyone, also for the researchers. And these principles, they form the foundations of open, reproducible, and transparent science. So, how many of you heard about FAIR principles? Okay, nobody, which is good. So it means I hope at the end of the keynote, you will have an idea, and I will be very happy to discuss with you also the details afterwards, okay? Energy efficiency most probably is much closer to you because that is not something that is related for computing, but that's something we really take care during our daily life. So we try to use equipment at home which consumes less energy so that we don't pay more money, but at the same time we try to protect the environment through that, right? So it's the same with scientific computing. So by reducing the energy consumption of our computing, while optimizing the processing time and computational resources, we can really help to reduce the environmental footprint of our scientific work. And this is really critical because only in this way we can minimize the environmental impact of the calculations that we are performing. If we combine these two principles, basically the FAIR principles with energy efficiency practices, then we can create a research ecosystem which is responsible, but at the same time resilient for long-term scientific progress, which are the fundamentals of sustainable research. So I will start with FAIR principles. So FAIR principles are relatively new principles, which were actually first published in 2016 in a Scientific Data, which is a Nature publication. So it came from a group of researchers which were aiming to improve research data sharing practices by making them more machine readable. So their idea was to enable basically interoperability and better access to research data, not only by humans, but also by the researchers. The important point is that this is a grassroots initiative. So it's a bottom-up approach. So it's not enforced by the institutions, but on the contrary, it started from researchers, and it ended up with strong support from institutions at the international level, and also significant impact on open science practices that we have since then. So what are these FAIR principles? The FAIR principle, and actually FAIR, is the abbreviation of 4 different aspects. The first one is findable. The second one is accessible. The third one is interoperable. And the last one is reusable. So why they are important? First of all, only if we make our resources, and from the resources I mean our research data or research software, findable and easy to locate with rich metadata and persistent identifiers, we can make other researchers to discover the resources that we develop. Because when we do the research activity, what is the intention of the research activity? To help the societies to address problems, right? And this is only possible if our end products can be accessible by others. So this is very important. But it is not sufficient. So making something findable doesn't mean that people can access it. In order to access, we should also provide means for others to get the data easily. So that means we need to provide some open protocols while respecting also the access rights, because not all the data can be made open. So if you are working in the health sciences, you cannot share client data, right? There's a private data, you cannot share it, but there are ways to make it shareable. So you need to put some authorization and access into the system. That's something you can do. So fair data doesn't mean it's open data. Then the third aspect, interoperability, enables the data or the resources to be used by other systems easily. So with this, you can really create an ecosystem around your data. You can enable other tools, other platforms, other users to easily get the data. And this is only possible if you provide your data in standard formats, which are known to others. And if you describe them also well enough by using standard vocabularies, by using ontologies, so that people, when they read the metadata, can easily understand what it means. So just setting the name of a temperature data as T doesn't mean that people will understand that. So you need to describe what that T means, and there are standards to do that. And if you follow the standard, all the software ecosystem can read your data and understand that it's temperature, and it's temperature in Celsius, for example. And the last part is reusability. So in order to enable people to reuse your data, you need to explain what it is. And you need to give them examples about how to use them, right? So most probably, most of us are following tutorials. We are watching YouTube videos to learn new things. And in those tutorials, actually, people are doing exactly that. So they are providing information, documentation about how to use the tools, about how to use the data. And by following this well-described information, we are able to redo what they are showing us, right? And this is equally valid if you publish your own research data or research software. You need to provide tutorials, you need to provide documentation, you need to enable people to reuse it. All these items together actually are fundamental for open science practices. And when we talk about open science, we are not only talking about open data, which basically the FAIR principles initiated initially, but we are also talking about open educational resources. So accessing training materials easily and in an open way. Or we are talking about open access publications so that we can reach journal articles easily. Citizen science, to involve citizens into science activities and make them part of our team. Or open source software so that the software becomes available to everyone. I think most of you are either computer engineers or computer scientists. So for you, probably open source is really something very well known, but maybe citizen science may not be. So are there any people who are doing citizen science activities? So maybe you should consider, because the software that you use might be used by the citizens, so it doesn't need to be researchers, right? So we have many examples. Yesterday we were talking about Orange data analytics software. It's very easy, drag and drop, and citizens can use it, and actually they are using it for citizen science activities. And also putting your data using or software by using open licenses. So, but eventually, when we talk about FAIR principles, they are equally valid for open source software. So you need to make your software findable. You need to make your software accessible. You need to make your software interoperable. And you need to make your software reusable. So you need to provide the documentation. It's the same story. And I believe it's also the same if you develop open educational material. The same. So that's why they are really fundamental for open science, not only for open data. So with FAIR principles, we can promote responsible innovation, strengthen interoperability, and build trust in computational results, because we enable transparency in our scientific work, okay? And these are the key elements for advancing sustainability in research. So we have some nice examples. So for example, Zenodo is a global research data repository, which is operated by CERN in Europe. So they give you 50 gigabyte of data uploading for each data record that you create. So that means you can store large data sets as well. And if you upload your research data or your research software, because you can also upload software. So here on the right-hand side, you see a software that is uploaded. You get a digital object identifier, which links back to your resource, which is citable. So that means if you publish an article, you can also publish your research software as an additional artifact and get citations for it, right? And actually, this presentation is also there because these kind of systems enable also self-publishing and break the barriers in publishing and making your resources findable. So you can self-publish and make your work directly accessible to everyone. And the link is correct. So if you go to the link, you can download the presentation. So there are also initiatives which aim to develop standard metadata specifications. So one example from our field, Earth observation, is STAC. So STAC is the abbreviation of Spatial Temporal Asset Catalogs. And the intention of these catalogs is really to describe where the data is located. But they do it in a standardized way. So any software that is compliant with STAC catalog specification, which is an open specification, so there is no cost involved with it, can retrieve the data easily. And likewise, if you create a spatial temporal data, which can be anything that has a spatial coordinates and a timestamp, so like the GPS recordings, mobile data, Twitter, you can publish them and you can make them accessible to everyone. And it's very easy to use because it's simple JSON file, nothing else. So, but we have issues. So unfortunately, having world-class research data repositories and having widely used data sharing standards does not solve the problems because nothing is perfect. So for example, Zenodo or similar research data repositories, they don't effectively use the information that is embedded into the geospatial data. So normally, if you work with satellite images, the satellite image itself includes the information about the extent. It already includes the information about the time. It includes information about which satellite is providing the data. So a lot of metadata is already available in the data files that you upload, right? So that means normally we shouldn't need to enter this information again ourselves manually. And we are in such an era. We are talking about AI agents, right? We are using that technology, but at the same time, we need to enter an information which is already there. And we need to enter that information into the description of a data set, which is extremely problematic because let's assume that you want to upload some information about the Enschede area where I'm coming from in the Netherlands. So this red box. the red box has the coordinates here, the geographic extent coordinates indicated there with four numbers, okay? But if you want to enter this, either you should enter it like that, which is highly improbable for a human or for a machine to find in the description, or you need to indicate in the keywords, like the data set covers the Rhine River Basin in the Netherlands. But the Rhine River Basin is not that square. So it's the watershed which is indicated as Rhine, you see? So that's why if I enter that information, I provide misleading information, incomplete. So, and that is really problematic. And unfortunately, that was the state of the research data repositories. And moreover, we talk about the FAIR principles, but FAIR principles doesn't mean that people follow them, following the best practices. So, and it is very common to see research data that is uploaded to a repository, which is called shared data.rar. So almost 300 megabytes archive, which is using a uncommon archive format, RAR. So how many of you heard RAR? So a few people, right? So all generations will know it because at one time it was famous. It has a good compression ratio. But it's very difficult to extract that information from there. And even if you can do, you need to dig in and try to understand what is inside, right? So, and a shared data as file name doesn't provide any useful information. So the result is that the research data, the spatial research data, becomes invisible to the machines and to the humans when they are published at major research data repositories. So in order to bridge the gap, we led a project which is called OpenStack. And in this project, our intention was to create an OpenStack catalog of public research data that is already published. So how we did that? Basically, we monitored all the research data repositories, the common research data repositories. We checked all the research data that is published on those research data repositories to find out if a data set includes some geospatial files. And if that is the case, we extracted that metadata information, and we created corresponding stack items and catalogs automatically. And then we took also the data, and we converted the data in a cloud-native format so that they don't need to download a RAR archive and try to understand what it is, but provide them directly a GeoTIFF file, which is direct accessible via software, or a shapefile, which is direct accessible via software. So, and eventually, when you can reach a data set or a publication by using the DOI, right? And now it is also possible to access the same data set, if it is a geospatial data set, through opendatastack.org/DOI, through a stack catalog. So that enables, basically, researchers easily find and access geospatial data using open source stack tools, and also the complete stack ecosystem. So which means all the extensions that are available for GIS software, Python, R, Julia, web-based applications. So all those applications can now find geospatial research data easily. So with this, we try to help and bridge the gap in data findability, because we are just creating the catalogs, right? But there are many other problems that maybe some of you can focus on. So the first problem actually is institutional. So researchers are rewarded for new publications because it is a kind of criteria for our career development, but we are not rewarded for data publications or software publications, right? Is a software that you publish on GitHub becomes a criteria for your career development in your university? Is it a criteria? It is not, right? Which is very unfortunate because research software, as I mentioned, is the basis of all the scientific disciplines. And we spend a lot of time to develop that software, but we cannot get any benefits out of it. Scientific career development point of view, of course, there are many benefits, right? Then inconsistent metadata and documentation practices make fair adoption challenging, like the file name that I showed you and the data format that is selected. Without rich and structured metadata, even open resources are difficult to find. So if you enter the geolocation in the description, it is exactly the case, right? And then, in order to improve this, researchers need guidance and support, which is very important. But then the question becomes, how to get that support? And one solution is a community-driven approach. So we should come together and we should really form community of practices which are self-motivated to learn and self-motivated to apply these rules. And if they are backed by institutions and supportive policies at the national level or international level, then we can bridge the gaps. We have a nice example globally, which is called open science communities. So open science communities are exactly this kind of communities. They are grassroots organizations. They are established by the researchers or research supporters. They are active in 27 countries, and there are more than 2,300 members of these communities. In Netherlands, we have almost all the universities. They have their own open science communities, which organize training activities, seminars, webinars, and they help each other to improve open science practices. So the question is actually, can we have something like this in Indonesia? And why not? And there is a starting point. Actually, these international open science communities, they have started your own open science community page where they provide a starting toolkit, which you can use to start your own community at your university, and then maybe you can convince others to create similar ones in other universities in Indonesia so that you become another point on the map. So this is about FAIR principles. I hope now you have a basic understanding, at least, about the principles. Now, the second part for sustainability is energy efficiency. Energy efficiency, because energy is really becoming a problem for scientific computing and also for our ordinary life, because all these AI agents that we are using for free are spending a lot of energy, right? So the volume of scientific data is growing exponentially. So we have experiments, simulations, sensors, satellites, social media, the data is flowing, so big data. Professor Fujita also talked about them. Then managing, storing, and analyzing this big data is really becoming a problem. So it's a major challenge. It's not a problem because we have the solutions, but it is challenging. And moreover, we are using quite energy-intensive, compute-intensive methods for that purpose. So instead of using basic models, we are using deep learning models, right? Which needs to get trained. Once they trained, they are quite energy efficient. So that's another, the other side of the coin. So not all the applications are energy, but they really need a lot of energy. And meeting the demand of energy, which is actually right now estimated, the data center energy utilization is estimated to be more than the energy consumption of China as a whole. So China is one of the biggest countries that we have, and all with billions of people, and all the energy that's consumed, including the people, the facilities, industry, is less than the data center energy consumption. So meeting the demand is really, really difficult, and sustainable practices are really necessary to mitigate the environmental footprint. So how we can do that? So there are three legs to reduce the energy consumption. The first one is the hardware level. So it is possible to have hardware that is more energy efficient, and this is exactly what we are having right now. So each new generation of a CPU, each new generation of a equipment is more energy efficient, which is really, really great. But this is not sufficient, because eventually what is important is the code that is running on that machine. If your research code is not efficient, then even if the machine that you use is the most energy efficient, you can still consume a lot of energy. And moreover, you also need to plan your jobs intelligently and try to also minimize the energy consumption or reduce the energy cost that is connected to that. So what are the challenges? The first challenge, so of course that's the theoretical part, right? That's the theory. So, but in practice, if you look at, we see that the computing clusters, especially the HPCs, run with idle capacity. So there are places where they are really heavily in use, which is really great, but there are also many places where half of the HPC cluster is just staying idle. Then, when they do the computation, they also do redundant computation. So most of the time, the same analysis is done again and again. A parameter is changed. It is not clear if that change really results new data, but we do it all the time. And we do it, unfortunately, with highly inefficient software. So, and here I'm not talking about inefficient languages like Python, for example. I'm really talking about software which is inefficient only because that software is developed by researchers without computer science background. Actually, I'm very happy to talk here today, and thanks a lot also for your kind invitation, because finding an audience like you who are experts in computer science and computer engineering is extremely difficult in certain disciplines, including Earth observation and geographical information systems, which are both heavily digital disciplines. But we are users of the technology. So, and when people with backgrounds in biodiversity, in agriculture, in water resources, they develop research software, they develop something that works, but only works, and they don't care about the efficiency. They are extremely happy if the computations are taking place, okay? And in fact, many researchers also lack awareness of energy usage, okay? One thing which we should be very, very, very careful at, so faster doesn't mean greener. So maximizing speed often comes with high energy costs. And actually, we have a very good example from our daily life when we travel. So I took a flight from Istanbul to Bali, because that was the only feasible option, realistically speaking. But I could have come also by taking a car or maybe by bus, right? So that might be also still feasible. But then I need to spend a lot of time, right? And then probably I need to spend also a lot of money for that purpose. And then there is also the environmental impact. So I took the flight, but with the flight, actually, I had significant impact on the environment because the footprint is too big, right? Whereas if I could have taken a train, that would be much more smaller. So eventually, the decision is a multi-criteria decision. It's not a single decision. So sometimes we may only decide based on cost because maybe our budget is limited, but there are many people who doesn't have that limitation, and then they can say, I want to take a train because it is more environmental friendly, and I accept that the travel will take longer, maybe twice, but I have time, I can enjoy the travel, so I want a less environmental impact travel option. Then the question becomes, while traveling, we can choose that option. Why we can choose? Because we know the options beforehand. So I can go to Google or ChatGPT, I can ask how to go from Istanbul to Bali, and it will give me all the options, right? Not only list the options, but it will tell me how long it will take, how much it will cost, and what the environmental footprint will be. This is all listed. So I know the criteria, and I can decide based on those criteria. So then my question, do you think that is the case for scientific computing? Do you know how long it will take for you to perform the computing before you click the run button? Or do you know how much it costs? So let's have a look together. So I want you just please read the QR code. And the QR code will link you to a web page where you will see some questions. Or you can go WooClap and enter the code, SIET25. When you go to the website, you will see the questions. There are multiple choice, so you can select multiple of them, okay? So it's not only single. So can we switch, please. Sorry, can you switch? Okay. So the first question is whether you carry any computation, because it might be the case that you are not. So in that case, unfortunately, you won't be able to send your answers. But if you perform scientific research, please let us know if you know how long it will take before it starts, how much energy it will consume before it starts, and then after the computation started, so while the computation taking place, is it possible for you to monitor performance and resource utilization, monitor energy consumption, and linked to the example that I gave, like taking a flight, taking a bus, taking a car, do you have access to multiple infrastructure where you can really choose? Okay, it looks like we have 32 applicants, participants, waiting. Some of them are waiting for the answer, so please go ahead. But meanwhile, maybe we can have a look. So according to the answers so far, most of the people are really performing scientific computing as expected, but only one person, 5%, has a good idea about how long it will take and basically how much energy it will consume. So, and that is the state that we are right now, unfortunately. And we can monitor resource utilization. We have very good tools for that purpose, CPU utilization, memory utilization, I/O, etc. But energy consumption is very difficult. So that is not possible, unfortunately. Okay, and it's nice that some people also have some access to infrastructure. Okay, thank you. So you can continue while I continue with the next slide. Okay, so what is needed actually to change this situation? So because changing this will be useful for everyone. So we will know how much it will cost, right? So the first step is to monitor what is going on. So measuring energy-related metrics is really essential for us to understand the energy footprint. And only through this practice, we can identify actually inefficiencies and improve the workflows accordingly. And then we can embed this practice into our daily research activity so that it becomes a habit, right? It becomes a cultural change. And for that purpose, we need tools which can do the monitoring, which is unfortunately extremely complicated. It's extremely complicated because there are a lot of data sources that you need to monitor. So it's not the only internal energy consumption, but the external energy consumption of the data center also needs to be monitored. Then if you are using a cloud-based infrastructure, then there is abstraction. So you don't have access to the physical machine. So there are virtual machines, and energy measurements are not available to virtual machines. So it's only available for actual bare metal systems. So you need to find a way to take the data and move it to the abstracted level. Then there are hidden costs that are available. So there are some monitoring systems, but they only provide information about the internal energy consumption. And there are many publications which publish these results, and they tell that energy consumption of the computing is that much. But that is not correct. That's half of the story. And actually, if you look at the energy consumption of cooling systems, like the fans that are attached to the servers, or the cooling system of the data center, you see that there is at least equal amount of energy that is spent there. Then if you need to go to the task level, because when we talk about scientific computation, we have many tasks, right? So we need to be able to understand which tasks are more energy efficient or consume a lot of energy so that we can optimize. And that is extremely difficult. And moreover, in order to do the benchmarking, we need also some standard methods, standard frameworks, and data for that purpose. If you want to learn more about this, also with a focus on Earth observation, we have a recent publication that's available. I provided the link, so please have a look at it. And right now, actually, our group, research group, is also working on a cloud-native energy monitoring system. And I'm very happy that our group is actually partly your group, because we have Aditya, who is doing this research as part of his PhD, and he's from your university. We are very happy to have him. And right now, he's working on this. He's trying to develop a framework which can monitor energy consumption on individual units and also at the cloud infrastructure in general. So then the last component is having access to diverse computing resources, because not all computing infrastructure are equally energy efficient, right? We have low power CPUs, we have ARM CPUs, which we use in our mobile devices. We use them on our mobile devices because they are more energy efficient, right? That's the idea. We don't want to spend too much batteries. And even there are some specialized accelerators that are available for that purpose. Then we can use them to do the computation, which means it will take more time, but it will be more energy efficient. So for the tasks that take more time, we can shift the workloads in time and space. So if there are some periods during which the energy prices are lower, or if there are some places during which we can use renewable energy, like during the daytime we can use solar energy, right? Then maybe we can use those units during the day, and we can use high energy consuming units during the night, if it is necessary. And then, if you have access to also multiple infrastructure with different energy characteristics, you can also develop energy-aware algorithms, because you can write your code, you can benchmark, you can understand the behavior, and you can optimize. So eventually, having access to heterogeneous computing ecosystem with machines having different energy characteristics really allow researchers to choose the best balance between energy use and performance. Of course, there are ways to do that. One example is from our faculty. So at our faculty, we are operating an on-premise computing infrastructure, which we call geospatial computing platform. And this computer platform provides big data computing machines with a terabyte of memory, 200 terabytes of storage per server, 100 cores that are really needed for big data processing. But we provide also these Jetson AJX Xavier units. So these are 10 centimeter cube edge AI units, which are normally used by the robots, which we saw in the previous keynote. But they are also very useful for scientific computing purposes. So because they have 32 gigabytes of memory, and most of us, we don't have 32 gigabytes of memory with our laptops, right? So this is better than our laptops. It has a GPU, which is NVIDIA, so you can do all these machine learning tasks. And they consume between 5 to 30 watts. So 5 watt is extremely low energy consumption, and 30 watt is also a very small. Just as a comparison, our big data computing units, they have 1,100 watt power supplies, and they have 2 of them. So that's the level of a server, and that compares to a 30 watt unit, which can do the task. If you wait, and if you accept waiting, it's quite a feasible solution. Of course, this doesn't solve the problem of optimization problem. So because hardware is only one side, but as I mentioned, the software needs to be also optimized for that purpose, right? And if you provide such general purpose computing platforms, people run arbitrary code. So they run Python scripts, they run Jupyter notebooks, right? So, and each notebook is different from each other, each script is different from each other. So they are very difficult to optimize. One way to do the optimization is to use computing platforms that are specialized for the task. And one very good example is Google Earth Engine. So if you are in the field, or maybe you heard about it, so Google Earth Engine is a platform that is provided by Google for free to analyze Earth observation data. They provide petabyte level global data and a very large computing capability. And basically, you write your code in JavaScript or Python, and that code is turned into a processing graph, and it is processed by the platform automatically, which enables them to optimize the process, okay? The disadvantage is that it's a closed system, so we don't have access to the source code. We don't know how the computation is taking place. So from fair point of view, it's not a fair system. But we have an option that's available. So there is an initiative called OpenEO, and OpenEO actually provides a specification, an open specification that is designed to perform geocomputing. And they also define the API specification, which can be implemented by using different backends. And this enables us to have a Google Earth Engine type of platform, which we can run on our own premises. We know how it works because it's open source. And because it works with this computing graph, we can optimize the computing graph. So this can really enable us to have optimized computing. And this is an example from geoscience, but we can imagine similar also for other disciplines easily. Eventually, sustainable science is not about doing less. So it's about doing better. And we can do that. So computing platforms for research, if they combine FAIR principles together with energy awareness and energy efficiency, then we can make our data and software fair, and also we can end up with energy efficient operations. So we can really reduce our environmental footprint. If that is supported by incentives, which basically support the reuse and openness, the incentives that are provided by the institutions or maybe by the ministries, governments, then we can facilitate sharing and collaboration. And this will result in project-focused thinking, because when we do the research, we always focus a kind of project, and once we finish the project, it's over, right? But then, if we change our thinking from this project focus to life cycle approach, so it's not only finishing the development, but also considering the maintenance of the software, how the data is utilized, how an ecosystem can be formed around it, and how we can improve, then we can really have an impact. And that is partly what I will invite you to do. But there is one more thing that I want to very briefly touch, which is extremely important nowadays. That is digital sovereignty. That is also essential for sustainable research, because it is increasingly becoming a central way for the research systems, for the institutions, and for the countries to think about sustainability, both in terms of data governance and long-term independence. So Google Earth Engine is a wonderful system. So it is not open, but it is really great. There are thousands of publications. Each week, hundreds of publications are coming out of that platform. So it really supports science. But that is run by Google. So anything that you do is on Google systems. And they have the chance to turn it off at any time. And then you will lose all the data and all the work that you have, right? So you don't have the governance on something that you are developing with your own intellectual property. In research, actually, this digital sovereignty means you manage and access your own digital resources, data, software, computing platforms, without undue dependence on external and, more importantly, commercial actors. And it is essential for sustainable research because it secures long-term ethical and equitable control over digital foundations. So this is the hottest topic that is now under discussion, actually, after this geopolitical situation that we have since last 2 years overall. I think you follow the developments in United States and globally. That is very important. That is very important because only through digital sovereignty we can ensure the data repositories and tools remain accessible, interoperable, and maintainable over time. And we can also ensure ethical compliance and local control over it. The benefit of having our own infrastructure means that we can also optimize it for energy efficiency, by using local renewables, for example, or by using our own open standards, which will facilitate national interoperability. And locally controlled digital infrastructure is more resilient to geopolitical disruptions, cyber attacks, which actually was discussed shortly, and also commercial shifts. And they also support a local innovation system. And that's partly a good way to improve local innovation system. So, my call to all of you, let's design scientific computing, which is fair, efficient, sustainable, and also under our control, adopting responsible computing practices. I think there are many things we can do. So at the personal level, at the institutional level, through our faculties, through our institutions, through our maybe ministries, right? And as computer scientists or information scientists, you have also the chance to contribute by developing software tools, platforms for that purpose. So if you want to discuss more details, or if you want to collaborate, I will be very happy to talk to you. You can also reach me through my email or LinkedIn. So please just let me know. As I mentioned, we already have Aditya, and we are looking for new Adityas. Our faculty, I didn't have time to introduce my faculty, but we have master and PhD programs available, and we have space for talented people who are willing to work on technical topics. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kirkin, for the speech. It really opens our mind in doing computational research. Previously, maybe what we consider most is the result of the experiment or the accuracy of the method. Yeah. And sometimes, it's my personal experience, if we have a poor result, then maybe we can get a better result by rerun the same experiment. Yes, yes, that's and it make a worse impact to the environment, of course.
Yes, that's true. So, but eventually it's part of the scientific activity, right? So this is something we have to do. So I'm not telling we shouldn't do that. So we should do that. But while doing that, we should always keep this sustainability and environmental impact points, because it might be possible that we can do something, right? Sometimes spending maybe half an hour just to look at the code and try to improve the code may end up with saving days of computation. That is very, 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 very doable, especially nowadays, because we have fantastic AI agents that are available. You can give the code to the AI agent. You can ask for suggestions. They can analyze the code and tell you what it can be improved. And just giving it a try doesn't take too much time, but it can really help to everyone.
Yeah. So for this session, I will open a question and answer session, but unfortunately due to limited time, so I will have only one opportunity for one audience. Any question? I think we have one question from attendance over there.
Sorry, it took a little bit longer, but please keep your questions. I will be around, and we can talk about them during lunchtime or during coffee break.
Or maybe they can send email to you.
Yeah, you can also send email. Yeah, that's also perfect.
She's asking first. Sorry, sir.
Hello, check. Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Nanta. I am a final year student at Faculty of Computer Science, Brawijaya University. I want to ask some question because me and my friend usually have the mindset of as long as it's running, it's good enough. We didn't even do the how long it takes, like the computational power, etc. As long as it's running, we usually satisfy. So how can we, as a student, be more aware of this concept of sustainable research? Of course, it is quite hard for us as a student to get access to energy efficient machine or hardware, and then it's also quite hard for us as students to create a very optimized software to maximize the use of the hardware resource. So maybe you have any recommendation for a student like me. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very good question. I can suggest you to establish an open science community and then create some pressure through the community so that you can have access to infrastructure, right? So because if he can provide good reasons to have access to such infrastructure, because you are using some resources eventually, right? And probably those resources are provided by your department, by your faculty or research group. So of course, we cannot expect all research groups or all departments to provide that kind of infrastructure, but maybe at the university level or maybe at the national level, we can create such infrastructure so that you can at least do some benchmarking, do some testing to understand the energy consumption of your systems. At the personal level, that might be a little bit difficult to make, but if we can form a community, then I think through the community, at least we have a better chance to get access to those resources. But at the personal level, there is still things you can do. So you can try to understand the efficiency of the code by using your laptop. You can try to monitor the energy consumption in addition to resource utilization and try to improve it. And for that purpose, actually, we will have a project that will start next year, and we will provide training about how to do that. And we will also show people how to use the tools for that purpose. If you reach out, I can provide you some information and you can follow them at a distance.
Okay, thank you very much.
So for anyone who are curious more about this project or initiative, then I suggest you to ask directly to Dr. Kirkin, either by email or ask him directly while he is around here. So I think that's the end of our session. Thank you very much for Dr. Jijin for introducing to this concept. And I think I will pass the session back to the MC.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Give a round of applause to Professor Kirkin. And please stay a while. We will present a token of appreciation. Please come forward for the Dean. For the certificate. Thank you so much, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the morning session of the FILKOM Conference 2025. We will now break for lunch and prayer. Lunch will be served at Trans Resto, located in near of lobby area. And following this break, we will proceed with our parallel session at 1 p.m. For SIET and SENTRIN presentation, please proceed to the design parallel rooms as per your program book schedule, and also please display the schedule on screen. Yes, this is your schedule for the presentation. And also, dear participant, kindly remember to reconvene in this main room tonight at 7 p.m. for the closing ceremony, which will take place after the parallel session. Thank you very much and enjoy your break time.